And we mentioned Restaurant Brands doing quite well in trading this morning. Tim Hortons, part of the Restaurant Brands empire, announcing today a joint venture to launch in China with plans to open 1,500 locations over the next decade. Let's get some further thoughts on the deal. Tim Hortons president Alex Macedo is joining us now by phone with more on the move. Alex, thanks for joining us. Last time we spoke, you said you were going to start taking some big swings in Canada, but this is a big swing globally. Tell us how this all unfolded for you.
Yes, hi, John. Good morning, everyone. So, well, our strategy is twofold. It's really to start to drive fast growth in Canada again, and that's where most of our focus and attention is dedicated. But also, the second part of the strategy is to bring the best of Canada to the world through our beloved coffee and through our product items to all over the world. So last year, we came into the Philippines, the UK, Mexico, and Spain. We entered these 4 new markets. And today we're announcing, probably the biggest of all markets, which is China, and our plans to open operations in China very shortly.
And we know that Tim Hortons as a business, even before it was part of the world that is Restaurant Brands, has thought about the China opportunity. Obviously, you have deep experience with Burger King, and which is part of Restaurant Brands, and Burger King has plenty of experience at this stage of the game in China. What was the point at which you felt like this was the right time? I mean, obviously finding the right joint venture partner is also key to this announcement.
Yeah, so that's exactly the point. This is a perfect moment, I believe, for us to go into China. We've matured in our understanding of the Tim Hortons brand as a management company. We were able to partner with Cartesian Group, who we actually have a long relationship with, and they've had success in China and in international markets. And the market for coffee and baked goods is growing in China. So we really think that it's a perfect combination to take Canada's favorite coffee to the biggest country in the world in terms of population.
It's interesting. You use that language, bringing the best of Canada to the world. But for our observance from afar of what's happening in China, we often look at it through the lens, at least with coffee, with Starbucks, because they're obviously very aggressive, looking to open about 5,000 stores within the next few years. The experience seems very different. I mean, the stores look different, the sizing is different, certainly some of the items on the menu is different. So how much of Canada goes into this? I mean, what do you envision a Tim Hortons location looking like in China?
Well, what we're going to write on our walls and getting into the restaurant is basically welcome to Canada, welcome to Tim's. And what we're going to take, besides our top quality beverage offerings and some of our best baked goods, is really the Canadian friendliness, the Canadian hospitality to serve our guests. Now, in terms of food items, particularly for lunch and breakfast food, then you're absolutely right. There's a lot of customization that's going to happen. There's a lot of localization. That's why we don't expect to open the first store anytime soon. It's going to take a few months for us to be able to work on that, have the right food to go along with our beverages, which are best in class, and we've tested them all over the world, and they perform very well in every market.
So 1,500, it's a big number. It reminds me of another number on 1,500 that you've shared with us before, which is something like 1,500 families here at home that have been long-term franchisees of Tim Hortons. As you look to expand into China, are you looking for this to be very similar, like family franchises, as have helped you grow over the years in Canada?
No, I think that the JV partner that we have will start as a company that's different from the families that we have in Canada, right? I think over time it might progress into adding families into different countries, as has happened in some of the countries that we're in. But for the time being, we're going to focus on Cartesian, which is a great partner of ours and has been for some time, to be able to drive the growth in China.
So you've got all that happening in China right now. There was also some news today about Tim Hortons testing home delivery. I'm really curious about that because you said there's still plenty of priorities back here at home. I mean, maybe there's a lot of people who are going to do home delivery for Timbits. I don't know. But how are you going to determine whether or not that's something you truly want to be committed to?
Absolutely. So you're absolutely right. Our focus really, we have Cartesian focusing on the business in China. We're providing support. But my main attention, my team's attention is really to drive the growth in Canada. We are testing delivery. You're absolutely right. We started testing delivery in Winnipeg, Ottawa, and Vancouver earlier this week. We're also testing self-order kiosks in Ontario as a means to become a digitally integrated brand. And ultimately, what will determine whether these tests move forward or not is the guests, right? At the end of the day, everything we do has to be focused on making sure that we're fulfilling guest needs and at the same time adding profits to our franchisees. That's the only thing that we focus about. Remember last time we talked, I mentioned that we were testing breakfast anytime, which is our opportunity to offer our delicious breakfast food all day to our guests in Canada. And that test is ongoing, and it's actually performing relatively well. So when that happens, the plan is then to bring it as a permanent layer to our menu. So it really depends on how the guests take it and if the franchisees are able to increase their profits by engaging in that activity.
And just a final question, one of the other things we talked about was loyalty, a loyalty program, which clearly you've put a lot of energy behind, but can you give us kind of a timeline on where things go from here on that?
Sure. I think, for Tim Hortons to have a loyalty program in Canada makes all the sense in the world, right? We have so many loyal guests that come so many different times a month and sometimes even a week that it makes sense for us to give something back to the guests, to our most loyal guests. Right now, we just finished concept testing phasing, so the concept with our guests actually was very well received, and we're preparing the market test to roll out early September.
Never a dull moment, it seems like, for you right now, Alex. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate your insight. As always, Alex Macedo, the president of Tim Hortons, joining us to talk about a whole host of initiatives, including that expansion in China.